Well, good evening, Glue Troopers, and welcome back to the Tarbis. It's great to be back. Had a great visit to those museums in Cleveland, which I'll be doing videos on later. There's so much material, I'll probably do 2 separate videos. But speaking of museums, when I was on my way back from the Jacksonville airport, this is the last of the trips where I got to get off the plane in Jacksonville and just drive home. Beginning next month is back to Orlando. But it was very fortunate to get those trips, although between the weather and everything else, they turned out to be pretty problematic to keep on time. But now let's welcome to flying the summertime in Florida. But the museum that I am going to talk about right now is, as I was leaving the Jacksonville airport, I looked off and there was this little Jacksonville airport history exhibit off to the side. So I took a minute to run down and grab some pictures. There were lots of models, and some of them were really nice, such as this what appears to be scratch-built Spirit of St. Louis that's on loan from the, I believe it's the Titusville Museum. And then I saw a bunch of kits that we would all recognize, like the little Hawk Spirit of St. Louis that I have on the shelf myself, and the Monogram SBD and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, oh, I built that kit, I built that kit. But what broke my heart was a lot of the models were in a sad state of repair. Most of them had really nice build quality. One or two of them were kind of like, like I would make them. But some of them were really, really well made, but wheels had broken off. In one case on the Gulf Hawk, the rudder was completely gone. I'm like, that's just sad because these are actually nice builds. I think they're kind of old. Maybe some model builder, I don't know how they came about them, if he gifted them or if he was contracted to make them or what. But I almost thought about contacting somebody, but hey, I don't know if anybody's taking care of these. I'd be glad to come in and at least just glue the wheels back on them and everything, but had things to do. Who knows, maybe at a future date. If you want, I've got some models I can give ya. So anyway, that was interesting. I had known it was there and completely forgotten about it. So then came home and came to the Tarbis because after this fairly stressful 4 days I've had, I needed to come in here and just escape the world. Now, a viewer made a comment to me recently that was very fair. He wasn't picking on me or anything like that. He was right. He says, Max, I've noticed some of your builds, you're leaving some pretty visible seams and stuff. It wouldn't take that long to clean them up. I think you're rushing because of pressure from the channel to keep new content coming. And he was absolutely right. So I am going to start slowing down. I mean, I'll still do the occasional fun build real quick just for kicks and giggles with a simple kit when I just feel like doing a day build or something. But I'm going to start slowing down. I know you guys tune in largely just for my witty repertoire. So getting the kits built and displayed is nice, but it's not worth some of the ham-fisted mistakes I've made because I've gotten in a hurry and kind of, I got to be honest with you, I'm just going, time for Max's confessional. If there's one thing I really just bores me to death, it's filling gap sanding, prime, fill gap sand until you finally get it right. Now I do it. I've done some models that you can't see a seam on them, but when I'm trying to build models quickly, I just kind of like, they'll never notice. We'll photograph it from this angle. Yes, I cheated. I took shortcuts. And I need to get out of that habit because that kind of precipitates, not really doing kits justice. And I have made some really beautiful models, and I can. And another thing, and I should also note that I received this comment recently before this last trip, and while I was at the Crawford Museum, I saw some absolutely magnificent race plane models on display, which I think I showed in the last video. And I actually felt a genuine twinge of envy because I know I can do that. And so, long story short, I'm going to start slowing down, focusing more, and doing it right, and quit goofing off so much. And if I feel like I just have to slap something together, I'll get one of the real simple basic kits, and just have some fun with that, just to scratch that quick build itch if it comes. You're gonna see better quality product coming at me from here on. So today, I'm just doing this video. I did get some work done on the Terra Cruiser, and it's funny, after making this pledge, like, I'm going to slow down on this Terra Cruiser and really do a nice job. And this kit just virtually falls together. It almost builds itself. This is a really well-engineered kit with a good fit. It's not going to need much putty. The mace is probably going to need some for but not a lot. And given how long and big this thing is, and of course I've got that little chassis system on it, the suspension system rocking and rolling, and these are test fits. It's pretty straightforward paint job, you know, gray with a white nose and a few little trim, and then pretty much olive drab for the Terra Cruiser and trailer. So it should be fairly straightforward. But I still want to do a real good job on it and do the best I can, put the figures with it and do it justice. It's a nice kit, and I'm gonna have to look up and see if this is the old, I know it's Revell, but I think it might actually be the old Renwall kit, because it is really well engineered, and Renwall was famous for that. And I'm probably putting a note up here right now. The camera reverses everything. Probably putting a note up here right now whether or not it is or is not the old Renwall kit, because, you know, Revell got a lot of Renwall's molds. So there's that. Now I'm gonna cut this short and head on inside, because I have to do the B25 video tonight, and of course a ton more photos came in the last few days. You guys really work really good when the pressure's on, as we got closer to it. And by the way, if you've been sending me pictures and I have not replied to your email, there is a quick note I want to make. There has been a little bit of an administrative problem that some of you guys are aware of, where I'd lost some pictures, and some of it was because I was checking my email on the road, and then when I would get home and download everything on the computer, you know how it's all highlighted, and then when you check that email, it unhighlights, and I would miss one down somewhere, or I would accidentally send it up. So I'm not checking my email when I'm on the road for images or anything, because I don't want to, or at least perhaps on occasion, because I don't want to risk missing. I want them all ready for me to deal with on the big computer and put them straight in the file. Hopefully that'll help me keep from losing them. So I've been getting your pictures and stuff. Speaking of which, I have got to get to work. I'm not going to get this thing done. I want to have it for you guys tomorrow, and maybe, I don't want to overpromise, but maybe I'll have it done so it'll be in lieu of the morning video, because we have things to do tomorrow, and it'd be great if I could make that the morning content. So a lot of things going on, more than I can keep track of. Bought a book, another book that they sold right there at the Crawford Museum about air racing Cleveland, because Cleveland's air races. There was a park I went to dedicated to the air racing that I was just running out of pictures. I was like, there's so much stuff there. You know, people tease Cleveland, you know, the Cuyahoga River catching fire, you know, the mistake on the lake and stuff like that. But I've had a really good time there overall. And spent a small fortune on Uber getting around all these museums that I couldn't walk to, but you know what, worth every penny. Left donations in the museum on top of the cost of getting in. Bought my customary shot glass and refrigerator magnets, and the only leg lamp I got from the Christmas Story house was the refrigerator magnet. I almost got a little one to put here in the Tarbis. I don't have any room as it is, and I wasn't sure I could get it home without smashing it. So anyway, it was a blast. I'm going to do a video on that. I'm going to do a video on the Crawford Museum. I'll be spreading these videos out over a few days as time and everything allow. Right now, the only two projects I have open are the Jolly Roger ship and the Terra Cruiser and Mace, and I'm just going to focus on those two and slow down, do a nice job on them, and I really want to up my game here a little bit. So other than that, guys, I want to thank everyone for all the wonderful emails. Some of you guys have sent me some very lengthy emails, and at the end, you're always apologizing. Sorry for the long email. Don't apologize for long emails. I know I often send a one-word response back like thanks or got it or something like that. That's just because I've got so much email to go through. Sometimes I'll make a comment, but it's just I've got so many things going on. I cannot believe what a precious commodity time has become. And I want to say so many things that it's just, you guys are doing fantastic work. I'm really impressed, and some of you guys have got so many interesting stories that you sent me. Our good friend down in New Zealand has been sending me a ton of information on the transparent visible kits that I'm going to have to put an entire video together on that at some point. He's been doing some magnificent research. He will be getting a screen credit when it goes up. I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. There's just so much going on. Still want to do more in the Air Race series and the Women in Aviation and build models and do viewers builds. And I'm busier on my days off than I am when I'm at work. But you know what? I love it. I love doing this. And like I say, when it's no longer fun, it'll no longer be done. But right now, I'm having a blast. And I hope you guys are too. I want to thank everyone for all the contributions, the gifts, the pictures, and just taking part in this channel. It really has just been everything more than I ever thought it was going to be. I couldn't be happier with it. It's just the right size, small enough that there's some kind of personal relationship with a lot of you guys. If it's just recognizing the names, but big enough that it's worth doing. Although I'd probably be doing it if there were only 5 of us. Heck, I'd probably be doing it if I was the only one watching it. I'm not vain. Guys, take care of yourselves. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Enjoy your builds, and as always, model on. But I did want to come out and get a model building in, because after the 4 days I've had, I needed something to just de-stress and relax. And by the time I start editing this, I will probably have looked it up, which I meant to do before I did this so I could speak like I knew what I was talking about, but now I got to guess. It was already rattling around in the back of my head, but it's I can certainly do better than I've done on some of the stuff in the past. Some of the mistakes most of the mistakes I have made. And I'm sure all of us have tried to build models faster than the glue and paint can dry. So I want to, undercarriage or the trunnions, the wheel system today, and it really extremely easily. By the way, I didn't realize it gives you the option of doing it wings folded or wings extended. I can't really see doing it with wings folded unless you're doing like a transportation diorama. I think it just looks cooler with the wings out. It's supposed to be taking place in 1940. I had always thought it took place after the war. It's taking place just about a year before the war, which you might call America's last good Christmas before the big unpleasantness. And we like to say that there were simpler times, and really they weren't. They weren't better times, and they weren't simpler times. We were younger, and our world was simpler, so to us it feels like simpler times. And I mean, ooh, look, I want a model of that. Tick, 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 tick. And a couple of days later, it shows up in the mail. Ralphie did not have that option. There are things about the old days that were better. I think all of us just love going to the drugstore or the hobby shop or whatever and just sifting through the models and looking at the box art. So they weren't better. They were just different. Our world was a little simpler, and our world was a lot simpler. It gets a lot more complicated as soon as you start paying taxes. You remember when you were a kid and you thought, when I'm a grown up, I won't have to take crap off anybody. I'll be my own man and I won't have any problems. I won't have any stress because I'll just be free to do what I want. Yeah, you hold on to that fantasy, kid. Anywho, that was triggering another thought thing I wanted to talk about that has slipped my mind. Okay, what was it? I had that thought just a minute ago. I'm sure I'm going to edit this part out while I sit here and cogitate and try to remember. OMS. Old man syndrome. What the heck was I going to talk about? And I also might work on this V2. Show the von Braun heritage into modern missilery. And my grandfather was an off-the-boat German, had a very thick German accent like the one I mimicked, but actually, as was brought up by some people, von Braun spoke excellent English. He had more of what sounded like a European accent. He didn't pronounce the W's as V's or anything. You know, he would say wait, not wait. Actually, if you listen to Willie Lay, he actually has a more identifiable German accent. Of course, he was here in the U.S. during the war and was working with the U.S. military. But he's also one of the fathers of American rocketry. And I went back and watched that Disney Man in Space stuff on YouTube. I love that. It was so much of what they said came to pass. It was really, really, it still is impressive to me. I think Disney just did some great work on that stuff. In fact, I know somebody that's building that was at RM said that the Repop, the Retriever rocket. Somehow I never wound up with one of those. That's really a cool ship. And, saying that when he got all the arms that hold those circular cans around it on, he actually got it to friction fit. That's a sign of a good kit when you don't have to use glue. Man, that could be a t-shirt. Good fit, good kit. Hey, somebody should make that. Oh, I remember what it was. The airport used to be a lot closer to the downtown. It was Imeson Field, but it was too small. They couldn't expand it, so they built the new airport and closed Imeson. And sure enough, there's a picture of an old sectional with Imeson and the new airport still on it. I thought that was just kind of neat. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Well, folks, that's it for this evening. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. And as always, model on.